To begin my life with the beginning of my life, I record that I was born, as I have been informed and believe, on a Friday at 12 o'clock at night. It was remarked that the clock began to strike and I began to cry simultaneously. That is how one of the most famous characters in English literature began the story that would determine whether he would turn out to be the hero of his own life. To begin the story of my own life, I report, as I have been informed and believe, that I was born on Sunday, July 8th, in the year 1956. I do not believe my first appearance in the world was greeted with a clock's chimes, but like David Copperfield, the day and hour of my birth would later be declared by a sage who would take a lively interest in me. Also like Copperfield, whether I should turn out to be the hero of my own life, or whether that role would be played by somebody else, these pages must show. The week of my birth was not short of global news. Earthquakes and tidal waves struck a dozen Aegean islands south of Greece and swept across the sea to the Turkish coast. A vodka-soaked Nikita Khrushchev insulted almost everybody within earshot at a party in Moscow. And Secretary of State John Foster Dulles challenged Russian leaders to liberate their satellite countries from grievous captivity to prove the sincerity of their anti-Stalinist policies. That same week in the United States, Governor W. Averell Harriman of New York complained about Republican use of smear tactics to suggest that Democrats were soft on communism. He then charged President Dwight D. Eisenhower with being very naive about the Soviets. Stan the Man Musial of the St. Louis Cardinals was named Player of the Decade, followed by Joe DiMaggio of the Yankees and Ted Williams of Boston Red Sox. In the world of entertainment, Natalie Wood, perhaps Hollywood's most outstanding ingenue, offered beauty tips to young girls. The French singer Edith Piaf and Jacques Piels ended their marriage. Vivien Leigh and Sir Laurence Olivier announced they were expecting their first child after 16 years of marriage. John Wayne signed a 3-picture deal at 20th Century Fox. Ed Sullivan booked Elvis Presley for 3 episodes of his TV variety hour. And the hit shows on Saturday night were The Honeymooners, Gunsmoke, and Lawrence Welk. It was into this strange mid-50s admixture of bucolic Americana and Cold War paranoia that I was born, and the circumstances surrounding my entrance into the world were equally intriguing. Probably most of you were in a hospital on the day you met the people who raised you. I was introduced to my family in a random hotel room near the state capitol. But to best set the scene, we need to go back a little further and meet the Noonans. Jean Lee Noonan is my mom. She moved to Tonkawa, Oklahoma in 1926 when she was 6 weeks old. Her father, Howard Harold, had resettled his family there from Russell, Kansas, in order to take a job as a math instructor at Northern Oklahoma Junior College. Tonkawa was a booming oil town in those years. Its population had soared to almost 10,000, yet it retained a rough-and-tumble frontier spirit, with even an occasional gunfight on Grand Avenue. In the early 20s, oil rigs had spread across the area like a swarm of gigantic mechanical mosquitoes bespeckling the landscape, piercing the oil-rich soil and drinking up its petroleum by the barrelful. Intoxicated by the new infusion of cash fueled by the extraction of black gold, Tonkawa swelled and stretched out its sleepy lanes, welcoming 2 new drugstores, 3 grocery stores, several hardware stores, and even a few upscale clothing shops. Along with the thriving businesses, it was rumored that some of the people in this small town, and in my own neighborhood, were mob-affiliated. However, my father, Jim Noonan, never spoke of it. I've always thought that the Tonkawa Mafia, as they were called, was a term used lightly for a group that may have been involved in bootlegging and prostitution during the oil boom. However, there is a well-known story about a man named Sam Dixon who owned a Ford dealership in town, commonly known as the Ford Garage. It is said that a car belonging to the bank robber Pretty Boy Floyd was brought into Sam's dealership for repair, full of bullet holes, with the order that it be fixed and out in 24 hours. The boys at the garage were said to have worked all night long to make sure that happened.